It's an enormous pleasure to introduce Alex, who you probably all know. He came down to see us in the autumn. We sort of regard him as a member of the Hampshire Group. I had the enormous great pleasure last year of being on one of the interview panels when the candidates for the new CEO of the British Acupuncture Council were being interviewed. And the standard of people who had applied and been shortlisted was incredible. We had some really brilliant people who interviewed extremely well, gave very, very good answers, and it was a wonderful day. We spent all day interviewing. Now, the thing about Alex was, and the thing that really clinched it for me, as well as all his ideas and his vision and everything that he was going to do, he's one of us. He's a practitioner, he was a member, he was CEO of the Herbalists. Was at the end of it, when he was talking about what he wanted to do for the profession, he said, what it comes down to is love. And that was it. That was it for me, because it went beyond all of the practical skills and the intelligent skills and things that he brings to it, but he was actually coming from the heart. And I think we're incredibly fortunate to have him as our CEO and very fortunate to have him here today. So thank you, Alex. Over to you.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you, Susan and Martin, everybody for organising this, because this spirit is exactly why I'm here in the first place. And so it's a real joy to be here. And it's been quite a journey. In a few weeks' time, it will be my 1-year anniversary as CEO in the post. So I kind of feel like I should have done something by now. And I will be giving a more substantial update to the members. But today, I wanted to talk about the 30th anniversary, because when you have an anniversary, you should celebrate it, right? And if you celebrate it, you have to think, what am I celebrating? And when I first came into the role, one of the many things that I was given on my to-do list was, well, next year's 30th anniversary, can you make sure we celebrate it? And then I had this nightmare that I'll get to the end of 2025 and people will feel like, did we actually celebrate the 30th anniversary of the BAcC? So we are celebrating this year in lots of different ways. In ACU, we've got some features in the interviews that we're doing on the podcast and in other settings. At a conference as well, and you may know that there's an extra day at the conference which is free for all members. It's called Shaping the Future Together Day. This year, we also have to start the process of rethinking our organizational strategy for 2026 to 2030. So there's a lot going on this year in terms of thinking about where we're going. But I think to know where we're going, we have to know where we've been. Right? So today I want to talk really about past, present, and future of the organisation, and through that, I think that it hopefully will become clear what we do have to celebrate, and what we have to celebrate. Answering that question is also the reason why I took this job on in the first place, and I found out a lot more in the last year. And I was thinking about what it means to have a practitioner take the CEO position, because we have a governing board. You elect 5 practitioner members onto the governing board to represent your interests. And so we do have practitioners. We always have practitioners at the top, and they're my boss, and then you're their boss. So actually, you're at the top, they're underneath, and I'm at the bottom, basically. People think CEO's at the top. No, actually, I'm underneath everything. So what's the difference? Well, the directors are voluntary positions mostly, a little bit of remuneration, but they're voluntary positions. And directors are more at a strategic level, and they're not seeing everything. So the one person who sees everything is the CEO. I'm a full-time job as the CEO. So everything from the members are thinking and feeling to everything going on with the staff, everything going on with every single level of operation. I should be aware of every problem that's going on. That's my job. But everything great about the organisation too. And all of the questions that we all have as practitioners, I should be finding the answers. And I've been asking myself all the questions. I was saying to Susan, the problem is not only at the beginning not knowing the answers to questions, it's not knowing the questions to ask in the first place. And I think a lot of us have a lot of questions in our community. And I think that the BAcC has done a fantastic job over the last 30 years. And I want to talk a little bit about that. One area I think it could have been better is explaining itself. Because what you've seen, I'm going to talk about this when we go into the past bit, but what we have seen is that there has been so many people who've devoted their lives to not just the BAcC, but, well, to everything from the colleges to accreditation, but all throughout the community to being an acupuncturist for 30 years and being a member. It's that whole fabric of what has sustained us all the way through. But in the organization itself, there have been people who have devoted their lives to it and have been thinking deeply through all with the best intents for all of us, how we should make decisions and what decisions we should make and what's the best for the organization. And through that process, the BAcC has taken shape in a certain way. So when I come in as a CEO, I'm starting to find out, okay, well, what is the shape of the BAcC? What are we doing? What should we be doing? And I'm also thinking that as a practitioner. And then I see all these decisions that have been taken over years and years and years. And then I ask, well, why? Why are we doing this? And why are we doing that? And gradually you piece it together and you realize, wow, people have been really thinking this through. And now I'm seeing the answers to these questions. And now I really want to tell everybody here why, right? Sometimes it's not the simplest answer, or sometimes, quite often, it's not the most exciting answer to something, but it's the truth, right? And the BAcC has always tried to tell the truth to people. I think that's a really important part of it. So, in many senses, I feel like I'm not really here in the longer course of history, right? I really want to devote a good few years to the BAcC and set it on a really good, stable and positive path, and all of us, and creating a good future for new generations coming in. But one day I'll go back to practice and I'll be a member. So anything I've done at that time, it will directly affect my life going forward, right? And so it's something I think that, so what is it being a practitioner and a CEO? In a sense, I can be a window, right? Because now as an acupuncturist coming in, hopefully I can give a bit of a insight and a view into what it is. And a lot of people might think, I pay my fees every year, but what's the BAcC actually doing? What's it actually doing day to day? Putting in your mind, what are all these staff doing? Okay, so let's go to the past, present, and future. So the past, what are some of these really big things that we should celebrate and that people gave great dedication, great skill, and great character, and great sacrifice very often to get, and that we have and that we need to sustain? I think that a big milestone was 35 years ago at the formation of the BAcC, right? So at that time, we know that acupuncturists don't always agree with each other on acupuncture, on how we teach it and what we do, and that's fine. But imagine when there's nothing. There were people who thought, you know what, let's start by creating some educational standards so we can come together. And we all know what it's like in this community. How much of a challenge do you think that was back there 35 years ago? And how much character did it take? And how many people said, I don't understand what you're doing. Why are you talking about this, And they set an amazing standard, which is the degree level standard, and that's something we really need to keep. And I can talk about that another time as well, but this was an amazing thing. By the way, Europe, almost every single country in Europe is super jealous of us. I've been to a lot of these European meetings. We are the gold standard, and they're trying to set European standards at the moment in education. Guess who they come to consult? Us. They come to Barb. And Barb is the one that's helping. They're saying, which is really great for us because we already meet it, so we don't have to do any work. So this is quite interesting, this standard. Okay, so there's Barb. Then 30 years ago, you may know that the BAcC was formed of 5 organizations. So 5 organizations came together to form the BAcC. And again, as we know, different organizations, how much do you think that took to actually come together, put aside differences, have a common vision, find what that common vision is, and find that sentiment, common sentiment between us? And I can see Susan nodding because you were there. Yeah. And one of the things at the conference, we're going to have a number of founder members, right, who are there and who saw this process. So I wasn't there at that point, but I can see now what we've inherited with that. And again, we can't lose it. We absolutely can't lose it. So from that point on, I was talking, if we're talking about 5 element terms, I think we had a bit of a water phase when there wasn't much Chinese medicine in the UK. And then the wood starts to grow out of that, right? And we start to have colleges, Worsley and Van Buren. And then people go to China and people take back TCM. And there's this evolution of, and it's exciting. Wood is quite exciting. And because you go from nothing to something, right? And the next kind of woody target was statutory regulation, which we didn't get in 2008. And I feel that a lot of people felt there's a bucket of cold water that got this fire, wood was coming into fire, and then suddenly this water. Now, I don't actually think that's the reality of what actually happened, because what voluntary regulation is, I think that we should really evaluate what the advantages of it is, because I think we can have a huge amount. That's another conversation. But anyway, and so holding the community together then was really important. And since then, I think that there's been a certain amount of division and questioning in the community, like, where are we going, right? Which really frustrates wood energy. So anyone who's a wood probably had a pretty rough time in the last, since 2008, right? All the way up till now, because we didn't just have that. Then we had Brexit, we had COVID, we had, global instability. And so the government's not really been very interested in us because they've had other things to do, right? But I think there are a few things to celebrate there. So the BAcC has always upheld its core function, its core standards, and it has done. That's one thing that's been beyond doubt all the way through. And I think something to be celebrated about us is we all made it through COVID. We're still here. And that was a massive challenge for all of us. And the organization's still here. We're coming to the present. So there's something very important here that we have. And I think that our reputation and our infrastructure is really, really quite solid. I had the chance to meet the former chair of the Health Select Committee. That's the one that does these 10-year health plans, with new ones coming out soon. And I mentioned I was from the BAcC. He said, "Oh, I know you. You made a really good submission to a consultation that I was involved with." And it's this kind of thing that, we do these representations and they kind of go into the ether and where they go, but okay, well then we're known. We're a known entity. We're a trusted entity. And the PSA plays into that, but our own standards play into that too. I mean, in 2001, there was a big study on safety by Hugh McPherson, and he decided to only use BAcC members at that time. So this is before the PSA regulation, because they were the only ones that he thought could pass the ethics, that had the high enough standards that should be in the study. And that's one of the most important safety studies that we have. And so it's this kind of this overlap of BAcC and PSA. And some of the things that you'll see highlighted coming up will be this amazing project that got off the ground in Gloucester. And it was the 3 ladies who made it happen, absolutely incredible. And it happened because of the PSA accreditation, and it happened because the BAcC's reputation. All of those things came together. And there's an integrated personalized medicine conference that's coming up. And because of that, I'm going to be on stage there with Fleur, who runs the project, and Oz, who's the head of accreditation at the PSA, because they want to associate with us and with this. So it's a very kind of interesting thing. Anyway, so we've got this great thing here. But so for this, what do we need to sustain all of this? Well, we have this division. People have their criticisms and complaints of the BAcC, and I think a number of them are legitimate, and a number of them are there because maybe the BAcC hasn't communicated well enough of what it's doing, the reasons why certain things are there. And later on in the month, I will be doing a session where we'll go into more depth and all of that. But I'm very happy to answer anything today. Anything from the way the BAcC communicates, which I hope that people have seen a bit of a change over the last year. The quality of our website inside and out, how the BAcC talks and regulates and deals with complaints, professional conduct, and how the BAcC promotes you, and how the BAcC actually helps push things forward, right? Where are we going? So this is a really important question. So all of those things we'll definitely address, and they're the question. Every question that's in your mind is probably already one that I've been asking and trying to get answers for myself, but maybe there aren't, so I'll be very happy to answer them. And we've looked throughout the last 3-year annual surveys, all of those questions are coming up. So the present, what I found when I came into the BAcC was a fantastic staff, and you think I might say that because I'm their boss and I have to pick them up, but no, genuinely. I knew some of them who were great, and then I found other ones who I hadn't met who were just absolutely stellar people. And just to bear in mind that the BAcC hasn't raised its fees in 13 years. And so a third of the value of the income has been taken off in that time. And the staff has reduced by about a third. So we have a staff, and we reduced our physical office all the way down to one meeting room, right? So all the costs are cut. So the staff are doing this amazingly huge job with amazing efficiency. So really, really testament to them. Now, there are some significant challenges we have. If you know what a CRM system is, it's basically the contact database. It's not functioning as well as we would, and that's slowing us down. So in this first year, I've really been trying to map out all the problems. Let's look forward, right? How am I doing for time?
You've got about 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes, okay, right. So let's just map out the entire future vision of the BAcC in 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. So there's a lot to be celebrating about, because acupuncture has never been accepted more than it is right now. But that means it's vital that we are the ones that stand up for it, because we practice the whole thing. We're the experts. We have the depth. And one part of the problem is that acupuncture the word doesn't really summarize what we do enough. And this is something that we are working on in a really interesting way in the comms team at the moment, and we hope to bring it out in Acupuncture Awareness Week, because we want to find the language in a really communicative and resonant way, direct way, to actually express the fuller extent of what we are, who we are, and what we do. It's not just sticking needles in people. We represent something. Actually, we think, some people say complementary medicine, like we're on the side asking for a place at the table. That's not the reality. We are in a place where Chinese medicine has been for thousands of years, and everyone else is catching up. I went to a Westminster Health Forum discussion on the NHS workforce crisis, and there was someone there saying, there's seems to be some quite good research that there's a connection between the mind and the body, and there might be. And it just made me think, no, we are the adults at the table, right? And the rest of the health sector needs to catch up with us. That's where we have to be in our minds and in our projection. And there's so much to what we do, and we need to bring that out. So that will be coming forward, and that's going to play into forming the wider vision, because a lot of people think and still think it's statutory regulation or nothing, right? And that's not actually the case. And if you speak to physios and osteos and ask them what they think about statutory regulation, you may be surprised, because they feel, on the one hand, restricted in certain ways, on the other hand, not getting the benefits that they would hope. And you may know that there's all these Welsh licensing problems at the moment. What you may not know is they apply equally to physios. Physios are getting no benefit from their statutory regulation. They are having exactly the same problems as we are.
Yeah, they get direct referral from NHS.
Yes, but ask if...
Their treatment is £150 for like what?
So I agree with you. I'm not saying they don't get any more. Sorry, Carolina was saying that they get the benefits of referral. I'm not saying that we're equivalent. We're not. They get protection of title, and they get higher status. They get integration into the NHS. But also, if you do ask them what it's like practicing in the NHS, again, you'll get an interesting answer. Financially, though, yes, very important. So here's one of the points I want to make, though, is I don't think we're there yet. No, we're not. But if we can get the same benefits as the regulated professions, but remain voluntary regulated, that could be, I'm not saying it definitely is the right way forward, but that could be the best of all worlds. Because with voluntary regulation, we have more control. We can tailor more of how we want to project ourselves and regulate ourselves, come together as a community and express ourselves. But on the other hand, if we were to get the level of acceptance and integration, which is on the table if we can take it, because the PSA itself is trying to raise the profile of this model. And it's unlikely at the moment from what I can see, but I'm trying to have more discussions with government, that they're going to move away from that model. But there is some interesting things about this model, right? And I guess where I'll leave us is that we were going, before we were thinking of statutory regulation, that we'll get some big change from government, and that would help bring some kind of a great benefit to all of us. And I think that where we are right now, where we can hopefully enter another inspiring wood and fire phase, is that we have the power to come together right now, if we come together, to take that power and organize ourselves to find that future. And we're going to be talking a lot more about what that future is. And just to finally say, you can weigh into that future if you come to this free day before the conference, because you can weigh into that, our future organizational strategy, but also there will be opportunities online to do that as well if you can't make it to the conference. So you'll have, everyone here will have the opportunity to weigh into that. But more than that, thank you so much for doing this regional group. Please keep this spirit alive, because just this is absolutely crucial for all of our future. This spirit is what we need to continue and to attain the vision, I think, which we deserve as you say, like the people who have the solution. We have that ancient solution, which is the one that needs to come to expression in the world. So thank you all for coming.
I'd like to say thank you, Alex. Thank you for coming to here today. I'm delighted you're here. I feel honoured you're here as well. And I just want to say that when I heard you were going to be the CEO, I was really pleased, because I feel like, you know, my first sort of knowledge of you was during the pandemic, and what you and Paul Blacker did for us was amazing. You know, we were all kind of paralysed with fear, weren't we, about what was going to happen? Would we ever practice again?
Yeah.
Would we ever get back to work? And you know, through all of those talks that you did for us, you know, you gave us that kind of belief that we could do this again, that we, you know, there was also some fun during those sessions. And I think it also helped us to feel like we weren't alone. You know, there was a great feeling of community. You know, we were all sort of isolated in our homes, but and you know, helping us to you know, feel a sense of, you know, well, nurturing in a way. And I feel that it also helped us to remember, you know, what it is we're doing and why it's important. And what happened was, as soon as we were able to go back to work, people just came.
Yeah.
You know, they you know, so I was delighted that you are representing us, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you.